I've coached thousands of students at this stage in my career, and without a doubt, the biggest limit that most of them face to developing a flowing style and predictable progress week in, week out is thinking that training harder is the only solution to getting better, ignoring several things that actually generate progress, build confidence and composure in your rounds that lead you to respect and recognition from your coach and your teammates. In this video, we're going to cover what those levers are and which ones you can pull to enhance the sessions you're currently doing without the need to add more or rely on intensity. To start, let's find out why this is the most common hurdle that everybody faces. You guys ever watch Tropic Thunder? Robert Downey Jr. says the most famous line of never go full retard.
Never go full retard. You went full retard, man. Autistic, sure. Not retarded.
This is basically the layman's explanation of fight or flight. Now, if you aren't familiar with this terminology, it's when your brain thinks that you're in significant danger and wants to proceed to get the fuck out of there or fight with every single fiber of their being, which, as you can imagine and you've probably experienced, leads to way less resources mentally and physically to dedicate to getting better at the sport and actually developing skills that would stop you from doing that in the first place. Very few people learn this early in their jiu-jitsu journey, and if it's something you can learn early, you'll be far ahead of most of your teammates and most of your competitors. You see it all the time in white belt divisions, blue belt divisions, even some purple belt divisions. They come out and they just whack each other with collar ties and they grip and they throw, and the only takedown is literally using as much strength as they possibly can. And this is typically because they just freaking out. In competition, it's usually being fixated on whether they will or not win and whether that validates their training, whether they continue to train, because if they lose, they're a loser. If they win, they're a winner, both of which are fundamentally untrue. But it plays on their mind and it sends them into a freak out mode where their heart rate goes sky high. They get sweaty palm of the hands like I do when I film these videos because I get all excited. They generally tend to be very stiff and the opposite of what you would like to be. And why this is so destructive to actually building skills and getting better as an athlete is because you're fighting a 2-on-1 battle. You're fighting your own nervous system, your own body, yourself essentially, and the person who's in front of you. So how are you ever going to win a 2-on-1 situation, especially if you listen to all those street fighting videos of, oh, well, if there's a 2-on-1 situation, jiu-jitsu doesn't work. Well, I guess they're right. You proved it when you freak out in competition. The solution to this in training is recognizing that there is no winning and losing in training. It literally can end whenever you like it to. And so instead of freaking out that your elbow is going to get hurt and you can't pick the kids up or go to work tomorrow, tap early. And it's the same thing in competition. Yes, your ego might get in the way a little bit. Yes, you might not want to lose to this person that probably doesn't deserve to beat you. Freaking out is never going to help. And this is why the whole paradigm of going harder, training harder, putting in more effort and more intensity is just completely wrong. It's a very lazy way of thinking about getting better at the sport, and it just simply doesn't work. If you remind yourself of this idea that it isn't really that dangerous, you aren't really going to get that injured, as long as you're tapping early and as long as you realize you can just end the round or the match whenever you like, it actually reduces your stress quite a fair bit, and you'd be surprised at how much more fluid and flexible and flowing you become as a result of that. One other strategy that I'll add for you guys as a bonus, I wasn't going to put it in here, breathwork strategy. Now you can do this before training, so you kind of drop all the stress of your day, work and the boss getting up you, or you can do it before competing as a part of your warm-up strategy. But there's multitudes of different breathing techniques. There's the 4-7-8 technique. There's the box breathing technique where you do 4 in, hold, 4 out, hold. Some sort of breath work. Just Google parasympathetic breath work and do that before training and before competing, so you don't carry that anxious stress that's already up to here before you compete and then go into fight or flight mode and send it up here, which is obviously going to render you completely useless. You're going to be fighting yourself and you're going to lose 9 out of 10 times doing that. So breathe, relax, remind yourself of the fact that you do not have to freak out, and you'll probably do it a lot less. Which leads me into my next point. Copious amounts of gyms all around the world decide that the teaching structure they want to impart to their students is going to be randomized crap that's stuck together. You'll do a sweep from close guard, and then you'll do an armbar finish, and then you'll do a heel hook. And as the student, you sit there and you go, okay, I can get to close guard and I know how to do that. I just wrap my legs around the guy, but then I can't get to that armbar because then they're on their back, and I'm a white belt, so I don't know what a heel hook is. And even if I did know what it was, I have no idea how to get there, and how does that match to close guard? You just got so many questions, and all you end up with is frustration. And essentially this just leads you to blank brain feelings and no direction, no path, no intention for any of your rounds. You've got no links between all of your moves, and you've got no ability to solve problems other than go harder, use strength, use speed, use explosiveness. So it's no wonder that you think training harder is the only reason that you're going to get better, because you look around your training room of all the people taking the same lesson as you, and when you go and try to do shit to them, they just feel stronger. And so you automatically assume that it must be training harder that's giving them the results that they have that you don't. And this couldn't be further from the case. If you are in one of these classrooms and you're struggling to find links between your moves and you're struggling to get a depth of understanding of the sport, there is one very simple solution, and it's called positional training. Positional training is a round that starts in either top or bottom position, depending on what you're working on specifically. Let's use side control, for instance. If you're using side control escapes for your weak training of focus, well, then you'll be on bottom, your partner will start on top, and you can choose to make the round as hard or as easy to begin with as possible. So a variation of that would be crossface underhook would be maximum difficulty, maybe even double unders would par that for maximum difficulty. And then you, as the bottom player, have to figure out how to get your limbs back inside to be able to get them off your chest. And then as soon as you get back to an open guard situation, your training partner then either switches with you, or if you just want to work defense, then you just go again from the other side. And make sure you do both sides. This way, you're going to drop the amount of chaos that can happen within a round. And you're also going to ensure that there's a narrow window of things that you can actually do to focus on that's going to give you a direction, an intention, and a purpose for all of your moves. And the reason why this beats training harder is because you're actually training your mind to solve problems way more than you are just relying on strength, because there's low levels of chaos that you're not going to freak out as much because you know exactly what's going to happen. You can prepare for that before class. You can analyze it after class, which I recommend you do anyway. But essentially, you're just simplifying what it is to do the sport. And then you're not going to have to rely, like we discovered in the first point, on all of your attributes to freak out, basically. It's a really nice way to just center your mind and focus on a couple things at once. Now, one caveat to this is you may experience potential resistance when talking to training partners about this style of training, and not everybody's going to want to do this with you. Now, if you're a white belt or a blue belt, you might not have authority at your gym to be able to say these type of things to people, because they're going to look at you, they're like, oh, you're a white belt, you're a blue belt, you don't know what you're talking about, even though you watch these videos and you do know what you're talking about. But if you do experience potential resistance to starting in these positions, you can simply let people pass your guard and end up in side control. Yes, there's going to be a little bit more dynamic movement before you get to your position, but you still will be able to force a majority of people to put you in a situation where you can start working on a very narrow skill set that will lower your level of anxiety, it will narrow your focus and increase your results long term, which means you won't have to rely on attributes like everybody else who doesn't watch this video and figures this out. So now you know how to organize most of your rounds and how to prevent freaking out in those rounds so you can have a smoother, more directed style of jiu-jitsu. You need to tie them together with the concept that has forced me to progress more than anything else I've implemented. And no, that's not hyperbole. 99% of people that I've trained with in the sport of jiu-jitsu assume that whenever you experience resistance, you have to overcome that resistance with more resistance. And this is why the idea of training harder is completely ridiculous. Go harder, go faster, use more strength. I try and keep my students honest about it all the time, and I ask them, if I do this move with as slow as I possibly can, does it still work? And then they're forced to think about it in a different paradigm, because it's not about speed. Speed should be the last thing of your concern. It should be about the application of the skill first and foremost, and then you can worry about attributes. And of course, speed, strength, explosion, flexibility, they all matter, but they're not the key focus, and they're not the differentiator between someone winning and someone losing. When you fight resistance with resistance, all you do is you waste your time, because you're just trying to overcome something in the most difficult way possible. You're going to exhaust your mind, you're going to exhaust your body, and you're going to be less effective because you're so taut and so compressed and stale and stiff. You look at the old school McGregor videos and he talks about like being fluid and accessing all of the movement. He goes, you guys don't move like me. I know you. I know I'm better because I move different. I think different. I flow with these things. You watch old school McGregor fights, and that's exactly what he was talking about. He even talks about power being an illusion, because if you have precision, if you hit the knuckle right on the chin where it needs to go, then it doesn't matter how much force you use because it's precise. That's what I'm trying to get to you guys today. So the solution to this, every time you feel a large amount of resistance in a round, go around it, go under it, go to the left, go to the right. Don't go through it ever. We talked about this concept in the frames video that we just posted, depending on the time that this video comes out. But this idea of not going against resistance and not pushing against a boulder. If you've got a boulder blocking the road, you're not going to push against it. You're going to walk around it, you're going to go under it and dig under it, or you're going to go over the top of it. And not a lot of people realize this, so I think it's really important to bring to you guys. Every time you feel resistance, let's say for example, they're resisting by pushing you away in a straight line. When people push you away in a straight line, their frames are now vulnerable to being put above the head, downwards, across, or to the other side. And so instead of going into them with resistance and going against them, you go around them. Think about when someone's charging into you and they're just starting to burrow into you, kind of like a wrestling stance. What do the wrestlers do? The wrestlers don't just lock horns and go like this. They start to use snaps, where they start to direct the body down towards the side with the whatever the Spanish bullfighting thing is. Or they duck under the elbows and then get access to the legs. They're not going against the resistance. And even if they do get to a single leg and the guy sprawls, they don't just try and pull with all their might towards their body, because that would be a waste. That's going against a large level of resistance at the hips and the glutes against a small level of resistance at the arms. Because I don't care who you are, your arms aren't as strong as my legs. It's just not going to happen. So what do? They change to something else. They start to go to the ankle. They start to cut around the corner. They start to change the angle. They cut back. They do several other things, but they never go in to the resistance. So your trick to apply this is every time you feel resistance, even if you get it wrong, even if you fuck it up, it doesn't matter, because you'll learn faster that way. I challenge you to think about, how could I change the angle? How could I change my height? How could I change my level? How could I change my grips so that I can get to a different position and I can utilize something else other than resistance? Because if you do that, I guarantee you get better way faster. You become more composed, you become more skillful, and you leave your training partner sitting there going, I just don't know what to do to this guy, because he just keeps going to the next thing. If you want to be able to do that, that's how you do it. So now you know several ways in order to make your jiu-jitsu much smoother, cleaner, more composed, leading you to more confidence and more skill development. You now need to know exactly how to organize all of the moves that you'll be using in this framework, so that you're only using the most efficient, highest percentage, best moves that you can, so you can prop up all the stuff that we've just learned. And if you want to do that, click this video next to steal my system, so you can do exactly that every single time you step on the mats. Enjoy.